Hi there, I'm Eric Hunley and welcome to the channel. This is another video in the never-ending, forever saga of body language of Amber Heard. Amber Heard is a force. She spews more body language than any individual I've ever seen, save maybe Jodi Arias or something like that. But fortunately, Amber Heard didn't kill anybody. She makes us crazy. We get tired of talking about her, but she didn't kill anybody. So let's keep that in mind, and we can hold back wanting to kill her. Now, if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. I have wonderful experts like our expert today, Gavin Stone, that come on. I just had the behavior panel on recently, and they've been on multiple times. But for now, let's look at Amber and see what's going on. Gavin, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Good to be back.
Good to be back. Now, I've put together a bunch of clips because NBC dropped the first half, I'm hoping, of the overall interview. So there's a little more context in here, fewer jump cuts. We were kind of working with the pieces in previous videos. So I pulled more clips. We may cover a little bit of the same ground, but I think it's still worthwhile. And we'll start from the top because I believe the first question we actually didn't cover, and it's a really good question.
Why did you want to do an interview?
One thing I can tell you is, one thing I'm not is vindictive. There's no part of me that sees any, this would be a really lousy way to get vengeance.
What do you hope to get across here? You've had everything said about you. And what do you wish people knew?
You know, Savannah, as silly as it is to say this out loud, my goal, the only thing I can hope for at this point, is just want people to see me as a human being.
Okay. I didn't see an answer in there until the very, very end, and that was sort of an answer, but boy, she equivocates all over the place. Help us out, Gavin.
Absolutely dreadful. She starts with an explanation, changes her mind, goes into another explanation. Then the whole thing goes on again. She goes on a little bit more, and then she says something else very similar. This would be a lousy way to get vengeance. Well, nobody said you were trying to get vengeance this way. So I think that's a total deflection from the question, and at no point does it get answered. So why?
This seems like a stammering mess.
Yeah.
When you wrote the op-ed, it raised all of this again. Why did you do that if you wanted to just go on and put this past you?
Because the op-ed wasn't about my relationship with Johnny.
Okay, that one I know there was something.
Yeah, there was a whole lot going on there. It was a stammering mess, and I'm trying not to repeat too much of what we said yesterday about blink rates and that kind of thing. So, but do you want to take it away?
Okay, again, not answering the question. And then, what's interesting is it's a statement analysis thing. She's putting her statement and Johnny as far apart as possible. Mm-hmm. And it's statement. I know that's something there. It's like we're trying to avoid this association.
Yeah.
And so we put the like op-ed, stammering in between, and then relationship with Johnny. Johnny was quite literally the last word of her statement. So she put it as far away as she could, which really kind of implies some deception. Like, I don't want you to associate these two things now.
That's right. Sentences are structured in a way where you always prioritize first, so you can always listen to a sentence. And if it starts like, I went to town to get my nails done with my husband, then getting her nails done was more important to her than her husband. If you said, I went to town with my husband to get my nails done, you can see the priority in the sentence structure. Exactly the same kind of thing there. Johnny was the last thing she was thinking about.
That actually implies that she wasn't.
Yeah, which brings me to the possibility of, and I know you've said this before, that they're all friends in these circles, and I believe Johnny Depp is friends with Marilyn Manson, and she's friends with Evan Rachel Wood, and it makes you wonder if that connection is there, where they're all having a little bit of a chat of, yeah, I'm going through that too, and whether it's become a bit of a mother's club, a little bit of a ladies' gossip club. Not that I'm saying that this is a good or a bad thing, but they may be backing each other up to try and push a cause more so than think about what's actually happening in people's lives.
Okay, so you're thinking that the narcissism, I'm not a shrink, I'm not a psychiatrist, I am not trained, but if I were to run around and label somebody, I would say she has narcissistic tendencies in my mind. Do you think it is actually possible that she just is so oblivious to anybody but her own need that she just wrote the editorial and he was nothing more than a tool for that?
It's highly possible. Again, I mean, the word narcissist gets thrown around a hell of a lot these days. What people have to understand is everybody has narcissistic tendencies. It's like having a temper. Everybody has a temper. Sometimes they get angry, they do things they regret, but they don't walk.
I don't. I'm only on YouTube.
Well,
Gavin. Yeah. I have none of that. No.
We know you're a saint. But the thing is,
yes.
These people don't necessarily walk around every day smashing things up and growling at everybody. You know, a bit like a narcissist, you can have narcissistic tendencies without having narcissistic personality disorder. So, you know, again, just bear that in mind. You know, there are different, if you want to imagine it as a scale, there are different ends of the scale. Some people are more than others. So it's highly possible that she, you know, may be a narcissistic person and was just thinking of herself at the time, and it didn't even cross her mind to think about how it's going to affect other people and the people around her.
But it alluded to him. It was unmistakable.
You know, what the op-ed was about was, you know, me loaning my voice to a bigger cultural conversation that we were having at the time. It was about reforms, legislative reforms, renewing the Violence Against Women Act.
I don't really get a lot out of that. Or is that me? I mean, I don't necessarily find that to be deception in of itself. I find it to be just kind of just talking around it, just saying, oh, it was about this, it was about this, about this, it was about this, and sort of just ignoring the question.
Yeah, again, she's trying to make it look that she's got this bigger cause in mind for why she was doing it. Again, probably wasn't even thinking about John. He kind of backs up what I said a minute ago, really, about kind of, you know, we were doing this movement for domestic violence against women, or, you know, and whatever legislation it was she was trying to get done, which is great, and I'm in full support of that. But it makes you wonder about the credibility of her kind of story, if you want to call it that.
Right. Well, I think that she's using deception by evasion.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it. Like, quite literally, let's see. Did you rob the store? I went to the store, I got gas, I went home. I forgot the robbery part. I just said everything but that. So that feels a little bit like what may be going on.
Did you worry? Gosh, I'd love to be a person weighing in on these cultural issues, but that's going to stir this all up again.
You know, that's a great question, and one that I wish was considered more seriously, because it's important.
Oh yeah, good one on that. We got head shaking, we got eye blocking, we've got evasion. I mean, you got a stammer step. I mean, that it's all in there. Come on, buddy. Let's spice it up.
Can you play the first 2 or 3 seconds of that again for me, please?
I'd love to be a person weighing.
Did you see that big gulp at the very beginning?
Oh yeah,
there it is.
There it is. Yep.
So again, I've said this before, especially when it comes to Amber Heard, you don't need to be a genius or an expert in anything. We've all seen the cartoons when somebody goes, we know that there's something wrong. That was the biggest giveaway. There's everything else going on that is just typical Amber Heard, the blink rate, all the usual signs that are there for her. But that big gulp at the beginning, that was what really did it for me.
What did you see out the window of that car?
Every single day I passed city blocks lined with people holding signs saying things that I couldn't repeat on television. And they had to establish barricades to protect me so I could drive into a protected entrance of the courthouse. Every single day, that's how I walked in the court.
Okay, now that I'm just going to say, I don't think there's any really big body language to read on that, other than because most of it didn't cover her, but I think she's full of shit, and I'll tell you why. We're talking about a news show here, and all they could find were those signs. I guarantee, even if they had to fuzz it out, you would see really bad signs if there were bad signs. That makes for better drama. So Come
Exactly.
on now.
I mean, if you look at this from the very beginning, where you do actually see Amber Heard, you can see that there is no blink right there when she's talking about every day I had to drive to court. This is where she's being truthful. So you can compare the fact that she's not doing that eye flutter that she does until afterwards when she's talking about actually pulling into the courthouse where there were probably hostile people which weren't too happy and booing her. And then you can see that flutter of eyes at the thought and the stress of the thought of going into the courthouse on that day. So again, it does kind of correlate to what we were saying about, her baseline is not to do that eye flutter unless there's some stress going on somewhere.
True. And by the way, I do think people were booing her.
Oh,
I mean, that's absolutely true. Not a very popular person right now, but I think that the signs, again, this is the problem with Amber, is she takes a story, baseline true, and then just starts to pile on and pile on and pile on, and before long, it's like this crazy Jack Nicholson Shining fantasy.
Here's Johnny.
And we just don't know what to even think, and I think that's even here. It's like, oh, there were signs there, hearsay. We just saw, oh my God, hearsay. Whoa, but to her and the way she acts, and if the BPD is correct and the histrionic, she takes all of these as a blow. So it is possible in her mind that she saw that as a vile, hateful attack on her.
If you notice, a lot of this has been about image.
Oh, we know it's always her image. Every time she says, I was embarrassed, I was humiliated, anything else, that's when you see the real emotion. Not when she's describing violence. Violence is just a casual thing. Any kind of humiliation, oof, that gets her every time.
I didn't want this to be a thing. I didn't want it to be a trial. I didn't want it to be a part of the public record. But when someone sues you, you don't really have a choice.
I actually believe her. Well, I believe half of it, okay? Right. I don't think she wanted to be on trial.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you instigate physical violence? Did they all come in and lie in court?
I'm, less interested in sitting here, relitigating it with you. I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as a person who sat there.
I think I saw a little anger, a little contempt. Not I don't want to call any, but she was turned because she does the. We talk about the Amber sneer, and I'm like Billy Idol. You're saying Elvis, but it's her left. So when the camera's coming on the right, I could see it over there, but you didn't see it as clearly, and there was a definite flash.
I'm pretty sure she was a gold dog in her last life. When they give you that small warning with that one lip.
I will not argue with you. Not on that one.
There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. And as I testified on the stand, what you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
Yeah, I had 3 guys negotiate living daylights out of me on my trip home from the pub one night a few years ago.
Oh, I guess you came to an agreement, right? As in you were on the ground. Speaking of expressions, look at Savannah. I you know what? I feel like maybe we should do a follow-up reading and just do Savannah, because she leaks all kinds of things and she's fun to watch.
Why not? Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think as well. Yeah.
Yes, definitely tell us down below. All right. And folks, I know we're not dwelling on every single clip because there's so much going on here that some of it's just kind of like, okay, and we can see that.
And I don't want to keep repeating what we've done on some of our other videos, but you can always see her blink rates go up when the stress rises, when she's saying something that is incongruent with what's going on. It's there constantly, so I don't want to keep banging on blink rate all the time. We're looking at other angles as well with this.
I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight.
I did start a physical fight.
You did.
But you're telling me today I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Blink, rate, head shake.
I could probably write an entire chapter of a book using the micro expressions. I think she covered nearly all of them. You could go on with the statement analysis, how she evaded the question and didn't give a direct answer. There's head shakes, head nods. It's all going on. So you could literally kind of splice that one clip into probably maybe 50 different clips of all the micro expressions she shows in that area. Anger, disgust, contempt, the lot, it's all in there. Really love that one.
Even a baby gulp at the beginning.
Oh, well, do you know what? I actually missed that confession.
It was just a very...
He says he never hit you. Never. Is that a lie?
Yes, it is.
That one has been bothering me. And again, we've covered that before, but it does come across as he hit her at one point in her life. I don't know the degree or whatever it was. I don't know, as I said, if he rolled over in his sleep and hit her or something, but she did answer it in a basically truthful fashion from what I saw. Did you see any deception on that? Yes.
No, I didn't see any deception. I'll be honest with you. I looked at that clip. If you watch, this is actually a perfect example of where she doesn't do her typical Amber Heard eye flutter. She's got her eyes open. She's straight with a direct answer. Taking the context into that, though, you can accidentally hit somebody. You can hit somebody in defense. You know, there's so many different ways. And she probably is being truthful, and he probably has hit her at some point, but maybe not attacked her in the point of view that she's trying to portray. So, you know, again, all of it has to be taken into context.
He says he's never struck any woman. His lawyers argued at trial. None of his other prior relationships, not one woman has come forward and said he physically hit them. You were the only one.
Look what happened to me when I came forward. Would you?
That's an interesting one. There was that gulp again. And this one was an in-between gulp. We'll call this middle gulp. Because the first one you pointed out was a good gulp. I don't know. What do you see here?
It's almost like a deflection of the question. She's asked the question, and Amber Heard had responded with, look at what happened to me, would you? Well, that didn't answer the question. It's moved the focus from her to the interviewer. It's tried to win over the sympathy votes of possibly other people who have been victims, and possibly even Savannah herself. So it's a great way of kind of shifting the focus and moving the attention away from herself. That's what I see within the statement more so than the body language. The body language, there wasn't too much. You know, like you said, you've got that McDonald's medium-sized gulp going on in there. And because we've got a whole menu of small, medium and large, right? Oh, no, regular, medium and large, I apologise. Other than that, not really massive amounts of anything to take too much note of.
There was another trial, dealt with the same substantive issues, handled differently by a judge instead of a jury.
Okay, I like the stress on the judge. That I feel like there's some things going on there. Like one, the behavior panel did a great piece on Amber talking about this type of thing, and how she doesn't like we'll just say randos. She doesn't like randos determining her fate. She loves a qualified judge. However, there's a stress on that because she doesn't like the current judge. So I'm reading some mixed signals in that one.
When you're in this kind of case, in comparison to a case with a jury, it's an entirely different setup, and all you've got to do is win over one person, really, and that's the judge. You've just got to get the judge on side. So if she makes the right smiles and noises and whatever else, then it should be pretty easy for her to do. When you're trying to win over an entire jury over an extended period of time, it makes life a little bit more difficult, especially with social media as well, kind of adding to the pressure.
And we prevailed overwhelmingly.
She loves that decision. She wants that decision. She wants to go back and talk. I don't think there's much here.
Right now, as you sit here today, do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course, and I will to my dying day. I know what happened to me. I'm here as a survivor. I, to my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
There we go. And I know I've made a big deal out of that one. Till my dying day. I swear on my mother's life. Swear to God.
Yeah. She goes on about her testimony and how she stands by her testimony. But my notes here say, what happened to it happened? Standing by your testimony is not turning around and saying, yeah, look, this happened. Irrelevant to what the court says, I was a victim.
I am testifying about sexual assault and domestic violence next to a jury in front of a whole packed courtroom of people who are expressing their vocal support and disdain for me.
Really? Because I thought she was testifying against a defamation case. Which makes you wonder again if this whole NPD is kicking in and it's all about her. Instead of thinking about it like kind of, he's suing me for defamation, I've got to defend myself. All of a sudden it's about, well, hang on, this is what happened to me and this is what I'm a victim of. Swinging it all around to her and making her the centre of the whole court case, rather than the fact that it's actually Johnny Depp that it should be centering around and what happened to him.
Sure.
There's a binder worth of years of notes dating back to 2011 from the very beginning of my relationship that were taken by my doctor, who I was reporting the abuse to.
This is the new stuff here, and I find it interesting. I think she's telling the truth that there's a binder full of notes from her psychologist. However, as Rob of Law and Lumber came on and said, that wasn't admitted because that's like a double hearsay. She told her psychiatrist that this happened, and there were notes taken of her telling that. And then if they were to testify, then they'd be testifying of somebody that was telling them. This is not a medical record. This is not a freaking, broken bone. This is not a bruise. This is her saying this happened. Well, she's been saying this happening in the court.
And she puts stress on the word doctor. If you notice when she's talking, she's like, there's a binder of years worth of evidence from my doctor. You have the credibility that the word used to have with it so many years ago. And again, you don't know if this is just a counsellor. This could be somebody who she's going to and telling all kinds of stories to, who's charging her $100 an hour just to listen to her whinge. So again, it doesn't make it true. It just makes the fact that there's evidence there, which obviously was seen through as not being able to be submitted.
This is a doctor, not a rando.
Mm-hmm.
Not a random person, not a random cop with a body camera. This is a doctor. Somebody I paid.
Her notes represented years of real-time explanations of what was going on.
You got the whole look of approval going on. You got the raised eyebrows going on. She's locked eyes, saying, "Look, you believe in me. You're getting this." To see what she says about it and see if she's kind of believing what her story is there. So the usual kind of stuff. Rather than having the blink rate being high, she's now looking at her directly with this kind of, "You do believe what I'm saying, right?" With that look of approval, and to see if she's winning the interviewer over.
All right, last one. Whew.
I look forward to living my life, and I have a long one, I hope, in front of me. And I will continue to walk through this with my chin up.
And she probably does believe, to a degree, that she's now going to have her little happily ever after. Let's ask the audience on this one.
You tell us, please. What do you think? And more importantly, do you want us to do Savannah? I kind of want to do Savannah. I really feel like there's a lot going on with Savannah. And she's sort of mentioned, and we've mentioned her a couple times, but she is giving away as much as Amber Heard. And she's not trying to be deceptive. She's just leaking her expressions. So tell us below, do you want to hear more? And again, make sure you subscribe so you can catch the next video, and we'll see you then.